Hey there, guys. 4 musts for early retirement beginners. Now, number one, you're going to go, oh, duh, obvious. Start saving as early as possible. Obvious, right? I didn't retire till I was 59, which was a year and a half ago. I retired right about $500,000. That was way too late. I didn't start saving till I was 40. Okay, because of that, I had to save at a much higher rate than if I would have started, say, at early 20s. Oh my God, if it was early 20s, I mean, it would have been crazy. I could have been saving a couple $100 a month. Not 7, 8, 900 bucks a month I had to do when I was started in my 40s. So if you really want to retire early, start saving as early as you can. I mean, early 20s, late 20s, whatever. If you start down there, the compounding effect of being, having your money in the stock market, or, put them in some bonds as well, just gets rolling. Doesn't start immediately, but once it gets going, give it like about a good 10 years, and you'll see that stuff just start going exponentially higher and higher. Okay, so number one and big one, huge one, start saving as early as you can. Number two, the earlier you start, the more aggressive you can be in your portfolio. For instance, if you start in your 20s, you can be heavy into stocks, say 90%, 95%, maybe even some of you guys that don't mind risks, which I'm pretty risk adverse. To be honest, I'm a pretty conservative investor. I never went higher than like 65% stocks for when I was younger. But if you start early in your 20s, 90, 95% stocks, because over the long period of time, the more stocks you have, the better your portfolio is going to go as far as returns. Okay, I think it's over, over a 30-year period, the S&P 500 returns around 9 to 10%. I know it's around there, so don't quote me on that, but it's close to that. So the earlier you start, you can invest in more stocks. You can take, offshoots onto like maybe some kind of risky stocks, like, go more heavily into crypto if that's what you want. If you're young, you got plenty of time to recover. And if you catch something that could just take off, I mean, think if you got Amazon when it first started off. Think if you got Apple when it first started off. I know a friend of mine who did purchase a little bit of Apple a long time ago. That little bit is now pretty big. Actually, I'd say huge. So start as early as you can because you can be much more aggressive. When I started saving in my 40s to retire at 59, like I said, I was never more than 65% stocks, I'd say, 35% bonds. In the beginning, 67. Let's say 67% stocks. But I knew at 40 years old, yeah, I wanted to retire early, but it was a 19-year, time span ahead of me. But again, it's not like I was in my 20s where I had plenty of time to recover if something went wrong, And again, the longer the period, the better stocks do over time, as opposed to like bonds and everything else like that. Okay, so if you start early, you can be more aggressive, and in the long run, your chances of having a much bigger portfolio just go way up. Okay, number three. For those of you who are familiar with the FIRE movement, and to be honest with you, I wasn't familiar with it until I retired early. And then I started looking at everything and I found out about the FIRE movement. But I guess what I was doing, I didn't retire that early, retired at 59. Still retired early, so I guess it was part of the FIRE movement, but not really. But anyway, the FIRE movement is financial independence, retire early. Now there are a bunch of different kinds of FIREs that you could do. I've written out a couple here just to kind of give you an idea. The first one is called lean FIRE. Now, the people that do that start saving early. Most of the people in the FIRE movement actually do start saving pretty early, probably in their 20s. Lean FIRE is where they know they don't have to have a whole bunch of money to live on in retirement. They're very frugal people. So what most people the definition of lean FIRE is living on under $40,000 a year, around there. So is that what you want to do? If you determine you're going to be a lean FIRE advocate, you can save heavy early and, maybe not have to save as much or as long as other people who would be going to the second one, which is called fat FIRE. Now, fat FIRE is for those people who are looking to, have expenses probably around $100,000 or up in retirement, but that they'll live on. So these people, unless they have very high paying jobs, which a lot of them do, to be honest with you, they have to start much earlier and save much more because they know when they retire, they want to have a lot of money there to use, upwards of like $100,000 plus a year to spend in retirement. So huge difference between lean and fat fire. The third one is called barista fire. Now this is where people will start saving early, or I guess it doesn't have to be early. I mean, it's going to be something that you don't just save and then retire like that. These people save for a while and then they retire from a full-time job and just work a part-time job. Hence the name barista. Get it? Starbucks barista. Kind of cool, huh? So anyway, you will quit your full-time job. You'll have all that money saved up that will be working for you in the markets or however you have it invested. But then you can semi-retire to a part-time job, something that you love, maybe something that if you don't love it, it's an easy job. You can work 15 hours a week, and that's to pay a lot of your expenses, your living expenses, while your money you saved up early on is working for you for when you eventually decide to retire full-time. The fourth kind is called coast fire. This is where people save heavy in the very beginning of their life, in their 20s, 30s, heavy savers, and then they just stop saving, let's say in their 30s or 40s, okay? That money that they've built up, heavy saving in the early part of their life, is going to just work and work, like I mentioned before, and keep working for them in retirement because they've already got such a big nest egg saved up. The compounding has already been working for 10, 20 plus years that they got a pretty good nest egg and they can really retire and just kind of, coast off that savings and not have to worry about it. So those are four different kind of the fire movement types that I know about. There are much more out there. There's something actually called chubby fire, which is funny. It's kind of in between a fat fire and a regular fire, where you're not looking to spend like $100,000 a year. It might be more like, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So that's called chubby fire, which is kind of funny. But the fourth one, and this is the biggest one that I can, relay on to people that are just starting this early retirement kick. Every once in a while, you got to enjoy yourself. Okay, don't just like be frugal, penny pinching for 20 years straight and then retire at, let's say, 40 and, kind of regret that you didn't do some of the stuff you could have done in your 20s and 30s. That might be a little hard to do in your 40s. Or in your 20s and 30s, you could have been single. In your 40s, you're now married. So every once in a while, no matter how you're saving, how you decide to save early retirement, take a break, take a deep breath, give yourself a vacation once in a while. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be renting a yacht in Monaco and, girls and guys and everything all over the place and hookah on every deck. I mean, I don't know, take a couple $1,000, go up to Banff or something. I mean, my God, what a beautiful place. And it's like, in the middle of our country, up about 200 miles. Not very expensive, depending on where you stay. Easy trip. So anyway, my advice to you guys would be, sure, save as early as you can. Again, I started at 40, which was kind of late because I wish I would have retired early, but it worked out for me. But you know what? Along the way, I had a good time doing it. Okay, I saved a lot. But at the same time, I took time out to enjoy myself every once in a while. Okay. So anyway, if you guys like this, please click the like, and consider subscribing. And I'll be putting out more content like this a couple times, maybe 3 times a week. So anyway, guys, remember, it's been a tough economy, but we got this. Have a good one. Talk to you soon.